My screen across again, or
Yeah.
We are live.
cool.
All right.
So, how many tests would you like me to pull in? I guess.
It's interesting. 28 to 60 pulls 4 tests.
Yeah, and then 100 pulls 13. So I'm assuming there's some short ones in there.
Oh.
I don't understand why.
I'm assuming that because it's executing it in the block, so it's starting at line 28 and going to 70.
Oh, it's the never mind. It's the lines. Okay, I was looking at like test numbers. I was just like, what?
Yeah.
Okay.
Question for everybody. After I left, exactly how far did you guys get after that?
Pretty much where we stopped off, right around the same time.
All right. So if I just clone your lab, I'll be pretty much where you guys are now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think we started doing a couple views and passed 1 or 2 of those features tests.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the second feature test, maybe the third.
I know the first one, to pass the first feature test, we had to do 6 or 7 different refactorings.
We had to add also the session. I think we had to add that, right? Like sessions.
Yeah. Let's see. So yeah, it looks like we got the first 2 features, and we're on the user sign up page.
I got a question. Do you guys, when we're doing this, are you coding yourselves? Because I'm mostly just watching and contributing via mouth when I can. But like, is it more helpful to also code along? I don't know. I only have one screen, so it's tough.
Yeah.
Same thing, Ariel. I'm watching.
I'm with you, Ariel, because I don't have both my computers today, so I'm just doing the one screen.
Cool.
Yeah, I started just listening yesterday, but then I figured it'd be better to code along. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah, sure.
you know,
Yeah, I noticed.
So I went blank for like half an hour yesterday, just trying to catch up with the code that I fell behind. But
I just always wonder, like, what, I guess it's different per person.
I think you just gotta try out both, really, see what works for you. You know.
Definitely.
My listening comprehension is garbage. Like I haven't watched a single YouTube video in our curriculum. I just hit next and go straight through it because I'm not going to learn anything until I go in and like fuck it up myself a couple times.
Yeah.
One thing I'm trying, Kyle, is to, especially with this this lesson, because they had that 5 or 6 series build your own to-do list app. I'm just following along and coding with them instead of just listening to the video. I got a lot more out of it that way. I haven't finished, but that felt productive. It felt like a preview for what I'm going to do for my project.
Yeah.
And he has a GitHub authentication as one of those 30-minute videos.
Oh, nice.
Definitely using that for my project.
Yeah, I was about to say I'll be checking that out over Project Week for sure.
I kind of like the idea of doing like 90 minutes. How does that sound with you guys? Because I think yesterday my brain was starting to kind of dive.
I'm good with that.
I'm good with that too.
Sweet. Let's plan for that. And then if we have more to do, we can just hop on another call.
So what time would that be at? Are we starting now at the 90 minutes or?
Sure.
Yeah, works for me.
So what is that, like
10:30
noon, 11 for the central?
Yeah.
11 Central, noon East.
Yeah.
Good. None of it. Nobody in our cohort's on the West Coast, huh? Except for
I think 1 or 2 people are.
Indians.
Yeah. Because I've seen her posting pretty late, as far as through the.
Yeah, we were paired once. It was hard to match up because of the time difference and Coachella. She had Coachella going on.
That's awesome.
Priorities. I gave her big. Yeah, it's like whatever. If I had Coachella, I'm not gonna do coding either.
Yeah.
Same. Although sometimes you gotta make sacrifices for your code.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, where are we starting?
Pretty sure we're on the sign up page. Did
Okay.
you want me to refactor any of that stuff on the users or model? Or was it ride model? Yeah.
I think we've got it working.
Yeah, it's working. I wouldn't break it. I just thought it was nice to see another way to do it, and it really just reminded me of the CLI. So I'm going to try to keep that in mind for anything that becomes user side. Why not like lead it through like a CLI? It's just functionally prettier.
Yeah.
And were we going to use these for helpers?
Eventually, we'll need to use something there. We can try that, and then we just have to activate them, right? So that's what that's doing. Current user. That way, you can call them anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you're in the application. Okay, current user. Gotcha.
Yeah, just realized that it didn't come through with the formatting.
Didn't post very well. Yeah.
Because I was sitting there looking at it earlier, and I was like, wait, that doesn't look like that's probably supposed to be like that.
I think it looks great.
But if I return everything, it keeps the indentation, which is weird that it wouldn't recognize that. But
that's my weakness. I gotta indent my code. That looks too much like the Matrix. I didn't realize they were so anal about indenting, but some people, I think it matters when you're sharing code and working in teams a lot,
Oh yeah.
That, and you very well may get your first job working in Python, and if you don't indent, you are on dead in the water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're gonna get the pink slip.
No, is there something specific about the language that it needs to be indented?
Python doesn't have any ends, so like
Dang.
yeah,
There's no way to tell where
the indentation.
Yeah, you start on a new line, so they know it's a new line of code.
It's interesting because in I think JavaScript is similar to Java in this one area that instead of having an end, you just have like a closed bracket.
Or just a semicolon, I thought. in JavaScript.
Semicolons are a lot.
Yeah. And it seems like Ruby's smart enough to read it with or without a lot of the language's own formatting. Like, you remember with SQL, we didn't have to actually format anything in the end because Ruby was just doing it for you. And I think it's the same with JavaScript. If you don't put the semicolons, it knows intuitively.
So you added, if I get this right, you added in the application record the I see.
I've just got those commented out for the moment until we're
until we get a test that says we need them, we can activate them.
What is self-abstract class true?
That's the generator put that there.
Yeah, it comes with when you create it.
Do you know what it means?
I can't actually answer your question, but
So,
I can tell you where it came from.
I guess it's an abstract class.
Yeah.
yeah, and it's true, right?
I'd wonder if that means it's not something you can call.
So I did a
because
quick
application
Google.
record
What did you find, Ariel?
user
I did a
model.
quick Google and it says set this to true if this is an abstract class. If you're using inheritance with active record and don't want a class, I'm just going to send this to you guys can probably read it faster than I can read it to
That
you.
makes sense though, because it's like you won't have application record model, so there's no reason for it to have any sort of calls based to it, rather than you do something from it and everything inherits from that. Because like you wouldn't want to call application record.all, or I'd assume have somebody be able to directly call the application record.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
Makes sense.
Because it's going to have access to all of the other controllers, and therefore, like, I would assume the admin controller and things like that, where you wouldn't want necessarily a user to be able to somehow call functions from that.
So you're kind of limiting the scope of the.
I think that's true because you make
I would
every other
assume.
class inherit from the application record because of its abstraction, right?
Oh yeah.
Or application. Wait.
So yeah, it's like all your
application
others
controller, yeah.
inherit from it so that they can use its helper methods. But I would assume vice versa, that there's some sort of a link to that. So let's say, you have a new user submission form and somehow you're able to, inject code through a username to call the application controller and like set yourself as an admin.
Mm-hmm.
could be dangerous.
Cool.
That would
Now we
be
know.
my assumption, at least.
Who would have thought that when you go to a website and log into Facebook, all this is required? Like,
I know. I've been thinking about that. The back and forth for the OAuth. We
Yeah.
use it on so many sites.
or even emails. I don't know if we're gonna get into emails, but that seems like a whole nother thing.
We,
Kind of like sending
we
out.
won't be covering that.
Yeah, the mailer thing that you mentioned briefly.
Yeah.
I think something I'd really like to study after this is like tech ethics. This has nothing to do with what we're talking about, but honestly, I've been going down a rabbit hole reading about like tech law, and it's super fucking fascinating.
Yeah.
Because
Like what? What's fascinating?
there's not really anything that exists in that. Like it's being created right now. Like I think ethics as far as tech is concerned there's very little of it.
Yeah, there's a big issue going on with Facebook because certain people are getting kicked off without like a valid reason,
Yeah.
and that's a big problem because if I consume electricity, it shouldn't be determined like I'm going to shut down your electricity because I don't like you, like that doesn't make any sense. But
Or user is a user. There shouldn't be anything more than that.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's
It
the
is
truth.
true, though.
Anyway, I didn't mean to get us distracted. I just think that
Oh,
stuff
no.
is really fascinating.
There's such a level of anonymity when it comes to just being online in general. It does sort of beg the question of what is, ethical.
Hey, Ariel, if you
Yeah.
became a lawyer, you'd be making good bucks on that.
Dude,
Yeah.
I want to. When they were talking about the EU cookie directive, I just went down a huge rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I saw it.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's about. What it's about?
Oh, it's fascinating.
Really?
I'll send it to the chat and you can read about it.
Okay.
But just all
Like
of it.
how the EU treats cookies as in like identifiers.
So in 2002, the European Union launched the Directive on Privacy and Electronic Communications. It's a policy requiring end users' content for the placement of cookies and similar technologies for storing and accessing information on users' equipment. So I don't know, I think because the way that the web used to work is something about proxies and like how I feel like I don't have the vocabulary to properly explain all of this, but like reading through it, you get sucked in. So
They have much stricter laws than us, and so having to, as far as I understand, and now it's just these tech companies trying to catch up so that they don't
Exactly.
get banished from.
exactly.
Facebook was in actually way more danger of getting banished from the EU than what happened when Zuckerberg had to go talk to Congress.
Yeah.
It kind of gave him a slap on the wrist and said, "Bad boy, don't do that." And EU was like, "You can't run your platform here unless you fix this."
I was
Yeah.
also talking with this chemist who does sort of like ethics law work with pharmaceutical companies, and she was talking about how there's a huge gap for people who know about code to talk about it to a courtroom, and like because these cases come up and you really need quote unquote an expert to talk
Yeah.
about it.
To explain it.
You can make $750 an hour.
Wow. Sounds
So,
like good money there.
I'm not trying to show all my cards here, but that's like definitely, that sounds appealing to me.
That's
Yeah.
cool. You get hired by Facebook or when it's
I
coming.
can sound like I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That's
There
half
you
the
go.
battle with being an expert.
Yeah.
You want to
No,
throw me $750 an hour? I'll get on a unicycle and ride around this, whatever.
Very true. But I've always been interested in law, so I think that's more interesting to me. So anyway, I don't want to take any more time away. You guys should read about that definitely later when
Yeah,
you have.
thanks for sharing that.
That's cool.
What test were we working on? I'm
So
refresher here.
The sign in view, I think. I gotta figure out how to do that. How to get the test specs to come out just like.
So just throw them in either directly as line, like so this one will be if you called line 58 in the spec, it'll run this test, or you can enter them as a block of just all the features, or then specific features from this line to this line in the spec.
I see. That's how they're written in the spec folder too, right?
Mhm.
That makes sense.
So it'd be calling the specific line numbers, and that's anything that falls within that range. So like this one's at 67, so I don't necessarily have to stop at 67 as long as it covers over the beginning.
You're probably going to need to do that when you get out in the work field, because I'm guessing you're working on apps with thousands of lines of code, you know?
Yeah, oh yeah. I would be surprised if you're coming into a fresh code base. Like that's sort of the one thing I'm interested to see, how it is coming into something that actually works and you're either adding on to it or refining it. A little bit of trepidation there as far as, you know, potentially breaking something that was already working and then being like, well, fuck.
There's
I'm not
a
sure why.
there's a website I posted on Slack last night
The
for when you fuck up things on Git.
Git, I
Yeah.
saw that.
I was
Yeah,
mostly joking, but I mean, you can't ever, unless you tank the entire repo, you can't do something you can't recover from.
drop the database or something like that.
Yeah.
Um,
So what does it mean given 4 expected? How does expect 5 to 7?
So we don't have enough arguments here.
Yeah, it's
for what I was
probably-
expecting. It might be because we're using this collection select where you can't be as specific about.
I think what it means is that it's not seeing that it is coming from user. So we need an extra field, whatever that one that leads it is, that designates. So I think it's kind of like that.
Yeah.
Try that.
And then the 6 and 7 fields would be the optional ones there at the end.
There's that collection.
Does that work?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
I think so, at least. I'm assuming it's not having the error because I'm calling that first one correctly.
Yeah, I was trying to figure that out last night and I gave up. I was like, I'll wait till tomorrow.
So collection select, I guess the object. Now, because that's calling owner already. So yeah, I guess it depends on if we can do form 4, because if we have to do other fields.
I saw that in the, I don't want to copy like all the code, but to give you an idea that this person has form 4 user.
Okay. And then, yeah, just take this side out.
And there's actually no collection select, surprisingly. I mean, we don't have to do that. I'm just saying, you know, I'd rather kind of see what we do, but. So can someone explain to me why is it form 4 user? Like normally we do form 4 user without the colon. Why is it?
Oh, yeah. I don't think it actually needs to be. Sorry.
No, actually that's how I saw it, but I don't know why it's like that.
I'd assume because we're calling it through the user class, it knows that we're talking about the user collection.
Okay.
Or what is it? The object,
Would it
I guess.
Would it be the equal sign for the form 4, or do you just do the form 4 without the equal?
I think it needs the equals actually, because that's what starts it.
I think that's the last time it was.
So form 4. I guess it would probably just even use straight up, because how is it getting passed in?
I think at this point it isn't.
No, you're right.
Like, unless we tell it to.
Because this is sign in.
Yeah.
So that would be.
So we made the route and then we made the view, and that satisfied it because we didn't need to pass anything in at that point.
So we need to make a user method for sign in, I'm assuming. Or are we talking about
The application.
within the application?
Maybe application side or user.
We don't have a sessions control. We don't need one necessarily, but is that normally when you put all that stuff like log in, log out, session?
I think it's, yeah, if there was a controller for it, it would be the sessions.
I don't know if we need that. Though. It's better to do it in a group than by yourself.
Yeah.
If that works.
Okay, yeah. So it won't know what user is.
I was
So I
about
guess-
to say that. I don't think it'll know what user is.
So couldn't we just define sign in at user equals? That's rough.
I mean, we could do, because I don't know. I mean, I'm assuming something like that.
Oh,
Yeah. But then,
that goes in a controller, right?
hmm And we would have to call it from the controller.
Would we create a sign-in method in the controller? Just do it like since going to the sign-in HTML page.
Yeah.
Now, as of there, would it go to that? Will it take it to the HTML unless you change the HTML to sign in spelled out the same way it's there? So
This is.
does that matter? How it's spelled because it's not the same spelling as the actual file in the HTML.
And that I'm not 100% sure about because I know it does look for something similarly titled.
That might work. I don't know.
So here it is.
If we change the name here, we'll have to change it in our route.
Oh yeah.
To our routes.
And the user sign into it.
No route matches get sign in.
Oh,
yeah. So the test is defining
Oh,
sign in being spelled that way.
okay. Well,
That's like a big slap in the face.
It's like you spelled singing wrong.
Yeah.
Nasea.
just keeping with tradition, you know.
Another lover.
That was like a. Never mind.
Okay, let's see if it likes that better.
I haven't learned to love reading tests yet, like Avi.
First email.
Cannot contain all or empty.
Oh, it's a all. So wouldn't that be user.each or no?
Probably.
I've never seen it done like that, but
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I might be wrong.
So user.all. Because the problem is we're calling user.all as the collection.
Yeah.
And even more so, I don't know if this is actually giving us data. There is seed data, so. Although, okay, there's a test migration, so I think it just.
I'm looking at when I'm looking at the code in the other directory for their sign-in method and the users, they don't have anything in there. It's just a sign-in, and they don't even have like a user at all.
Oh, so it's just sign in.
Yeah. And I think they're building it in the user.new. And the one I'm looking at is similar to that too.
So they're building it off of the new form.
The sign-in page is blank, and then the user.new where you have the form.
I guess it's different because
That way you don't have to have any data passed to it.
what
Okay.
would be the point of having the page then of sign in?
It's just because they're asking for it in the test.
Oh,
I mean, yeah, I guess you could create a partial and have some kind of form here.
Yeah. I mean,
But I think their test is lacking. So like there's some issues here. So they're having us create a page, but they're not having us create anything on it.
let's see what happens when we just have a blank sign-in page. If it likes that better.
Yeah, and then we'll have to pull that user data somewhere.
So it wants to find a select box.
Yeah.
And what page? User admin successfully logs in.
So then somewhere on the user.new, or like the user new html.erb, we can create a form.
For logging in.
Like collection select, or
Is that right?
Basically, just have it all either where they can create a new user or sign in on the same page. Or are we doing it within like?
That's your new form. So on your new.html.
So do you have a conditional there to? So like, will we need to surround his line 1 with if
That's a good
signed
question. This is written differently, so I don't know if it's going to work. Let's see.
well, and I know it's kind of confusing because
Oh, I see what they did. It's not under users.new. It's under sessions.new.
So they did create a sessions controller, and
They did.
All right.
yeah,
And so this was, directory session file new.html.erb. And I'm going to share this code in the chat. They had your collection select working in there too, but they added name before the user.all.
Sessions controller application. Okay. Yeah, I spelled it right.
coffee.
Good job, John.
Yeah. All right, so I'm going to try and pull this chat up.
I saw a commercial for a boot camp, and they're like, oh yeah, well, you could drink beer here and play ping pong, and I was like, oh my god.
Well, they have that at WeWork too. So like, if you're in the immersive program, they have free beer every day. I started in the immersive program and moved to this.
Oh
Yeah.
that's right. That's right. So they had free beer. Huh? That's funny.
How would you compare the two?
The immersive program is very, 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 very intense.
Yeah, that's what I was scared off by. That's why I chose to do this.
Yeah, it's
Hearing the same kind of stories.
especially if you don't come from a computer science background.
Okay.
It's a lot of people who have already done computer science for a long time.
Okay.
What's
I think I did the right thing.
so you said it was a new session with a new sign in?
Yeah, so I posted what I posted was the views in the sessions controller. We're going to need to do a couple things too.
All right, so this will be.
I'm a little lost.
are there session views as well?
Just the new page. And then we'll have to create a route for that too, right? Because it doesn't exist right now.
Yeah.
What if you just posted the actual repo?
Yeah, the sessions controller just has the the new stumped out, and then a create method and a destroy method. We will need a destroy methed. I saw that in the tests, so it makes sense. They're going to ask for sessions.
So from my understanding right now, you created a sessions controller, and then inside of sessions controller, you created the sign in method, or
The sign in method is the new sessions new view page. And it has all of those authenticity things that it's going to be looking for.
So then will we move the sign in from the user controller to the sessions controller?
That's a good question. I think you still need the form we created was a form for adding a new user, so it wasn't really a sign-in form.
Okay.
So I think we're okay.
Because when you're doing sign in, it's basically just login, right?
Yeah.
Do you have to do like password verification?
I think that's what all those hidden fields are.
I see. I see.
I wish they had more labs with that because it's complicated. I would feel more comfortable with it if I had more exposure.
And he said this is just for the new.
Yeah, the new is just empty, and then we can eventually make a create and destroy when they ask for it.
For his sessions.
Yeah.
All right. I'll stub it out. The destroy is pretty easy if I remember.
Yeah.
That was just. Something like that.
There's a million ways of doing. I like that destroy. I like that strong verbiage.
It's not just delete, it's destroy.
Yeah.
I think that method will ask us to redirect somewhere eventually too.
Okay.
We can come to that when it asks.
Okay, let's see.
And then it might ask us to verify that they're actually a current user before we destroy anything.
Somebody's hacking.
Users features that.
This is. Yeah, this is a lot like that music CLI library. Sessions controller. And you got a session resource?
I don't actually. It doesn't have a route. Okay.
Sounds like Iraq back there. Yeah, this is interesting because I wonder. I guess we'll see if this passes the test. Yeah.
Sign in.
Post sign.
Okay, so it's looking to click the button, and there's no post route, so that would be our create.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it looks like the routes that I have here too. Yeah, there's a get sign in and sending it to sessions new, and then a post sign in to session create.
Session controller.
So for the create, you would do like.
And then it eventually we'll need to delete to session destroy, even though you don't need a page for it.
Do we have to define who user ID is by saying params user equals user dot defined by params ID above that?
I don't know if you need to do the session.
Because
Oh,
it's
well, who are you going to
it's-
set the user ID to if there's no?
coming from this collection selection.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know if it's being passed in through the form. I mean, I guess.
Yeah, I see what he's saying, but you gotta let's see, create. You can do a user equals and a find by.
I'm kind of interested what our params would be.
They did a find by name, params, bracket user, bracket name.
Yeah, it does look like it's nested. Cool.
And then we have to authenticate before we confirm the user.
So yeah, it doesn't have an ID yet because it's not being created. So
But if you're selecting a user that's already created, wouldn't it? It's confusing. User collection, that's a collection of all users. So then what if wouldn't there be under the collection select, wouldn't there be one that says like user ID in there? Because we have name 3 times.
that should be user.
Dutchin, does that code look right? Does it have name 3 times, or does it have user ID at one point in the collection set?
Let's see. I have the user ID doesn't come into play until you're looking for the session, and you'd compare the session user ID to the user ID to make sure that's the session.
Okay.
So we're pulling user ID.
User.find by :name, and then that worked, right? When we did params user.name, user and name.
Yeah, it was nested.
Yeah.
That's always confusing.
Yeah, and then if it doesn't ask us to authenticate, that should pass.
What if we? Yeah, there you go.
So it'd be user.id.
Yeah.
Beautiful. That should work.
Oh, yeah, that's not going to work.
You got to scream to it. Exit.
Okay, so it looks like it's routing us to sign in.
It's so confusing because it says that's where they want us to go. I hate this test.
What?
We passed 2 tests.
Oh, nice. Prevents user from viewing user page and redirects to homepage if not logged in. So if assuming that's what we'd be looking for, right?
What are we checking if the user is not signed up?
Well, I guess that would not be. It would be after this gets declared. So if that user.
If not user.
I'm sorry, what?
What are we checking? What are we doing in this?
So it's looking if the user sign up prevents user from viewing the show page and redirects to the home page if they're not logged in.
Okay.
So this might be where the logged in helper method would come into play.
Yeah, we could do something like that, or just here. I'll show you what this person used.
It's like
work because they're authenticating by password to make sure that they're logged in. They did if user and user.authenticate params password, then you can say that the session ID is the user's ID.
I'm sorry, my
so on line 10 and at user.authenticate params password.
Would it have to be user params password or just you params password? There's only one password, right?
No, the collection
I think you
select
did at user.
And it is at user.authenticate.
Mm-hmm.
Is there? Oh, never mind. You're right. That looks good.
User.authenticate looks good, and then else render new redirect somewhere.
Does it want to go home?
Yeah. So root. Is it root path or is it just root?
Don't remember.
I think you can do both.
Okay.
Root.
So root.
Path, right?
I'm just gonna leave it as root path. We'll see if it likes that.
That looks like it because I think you put path after everything.
Yeah.
What's the problem here? Maybe it doesn't like root path.
That didn't go to the root.
So the second part after and, we're just checking to make sure it's an authentic user. right?
It's not
Yeah,
even-
you're checking the user, then you can attach that user ID, session ID to the user ID.
Okay.
it doesn't seem to be hitting our else.
User.authenticate params password. I know you just asked that, Ariel, but I don't know if I understand what they explain. If
Basically, like you have a user, but is it authenticated with a password?
Yeah, which would confirm that they've logged in, which is what they were looking for.
oh, gotcha.
Yeah. So just to be sure that you're not just pulling any user, whether they're logged in or not.
Yeah, so they have to be a user and they have to be logged in, which is what the checking the authentication of the password will do. Then you can attach the session user ID to the user's ID and take them to the user's path.
If
Our
they log in,
user,
don't they already have a session?
they do have a secure password.
Question: wouldn't it doing it by authenticate with the password if multiple users have the same password?
Only if it's the user being found by the same name and password.
All right.
And
Most of the times
technically,
I did this by user ID.
we should have validations that make sure that's not possible on creation. I don't think there's anything at the moment set up, but it shouldn't allow for identical usernames.
So for the sake of this test, we're just trying to pass it, right?
Right now, what we're trying to do is bump somebody out of the first if loop onto the else loop, whatever user they're pushing through. Because right now it's passing and it's taking to their show page.
User signup prevents user from viewing user show page and redirects to home page if not logged in. Does that mean we need a logged in method somewhere?
I'd say probably. So what's this? Spec 47.
Should we go in and create that where we were going to define current user and all that? Activate that code and see if that does it,
Yeah.
because then we can just use that helper method.
Oh, it says expect page to have content sign up. So that home page should be the sign up page, right? Should be the in line 47 of the spec. Or 51. So that is if the root does our root path have this? I know it's like the next test, but we're gonna have to do it anyways. Does the root path have the sign up page? Because you know how we have like a home, our root page should be the sign up page from what the test says.
Prevents user from being user. So it wants to visit this, and then it's expecting to get kicked off. So I'm pretty sure it's going to whatever that page is. Although I'm assuming that means when it gets kicked back to the redirect, it's looking that our home page has a way for them to sign up.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah, I think it take these helper methods out of comment.
I'm trying to follow along as much as I can.
Assuming we won't need these.
Well, that's cool. I don't know you can do that.
Control Shift and then directional.
And you can move them up and down or left and right even.
The shortcut guy.
I was just messing around after we got off yesterday because I was like, this might be helpful. Okay. So current user.
I feel like these meet what they're asking for, even though it's not in the place that we're looking.
So what we would do, I guess, is if so it will require login.
Uh-oh.
Does that sound right? because then it will call
Require login
current user.
unless current user.
And it will check, make sure user ID is present. And then it'll find by the ID associated with the session ID,
Okay.
if I understand that correctly.
You know, I think a good current user method that is used a lot is like the or equals, you know? But I don't know, as long as we can get the job done.
Sure. I mean, off the top of my head, I'm not familiar.
I'm gonna pull it up on I have a notes that let's see if I can remember.
We'll see what this does. I think that was it, right? Current user. So the user class inherits an application controller. Application controller. That's a current user.
Couldn't you just use current user without the @user part?
But I think it's got to be called on something, right?
No.
No. I think in my Twitter lab, if I remember correctly, it was just current user, and that
Just calls the function on what we're checking against.
Yeah, because there's no arguments that get past that function. It just executes some code and returns an object.
Undefined current user. I don't understand why it's saying it's undefined. Aren't we inheriting from that? And we've made it a helper method.
I would assume.
That looks weird. Current user.
It's spelled correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Go back to the current user method. I want to check out what is the return value of the current user. Well, it still should work. It still should work, even if there's a bad.
Does this need to be an instance variable?
No, because it's going to that's what it's going to return.
Mm.
So would it have to do with, you know how it says helper method current user? Would we have to define that on top of the sessions controller? The helper method current user or no? Do you have to do anything with that? Like on line 4 right now, it says helper method current user. Does that have anything to do
Do we
with
need to activate it, you're saying? I thought that it was just going to inherit, but I don't know what I'm talking about sometimes.
I don't know. I'm wondering if that has to do with something with why it's not liking it.
You can see.
Doesn't like it. But wait, it says for session control. That makes sense.
Over on the application controller, will you comment out line 4 and line 24?
Yeah.
And try that.
Would you want to get rid of the helper method on top of the sessions controller too that he pasted?
For maybe. It might not ever get called.
Is this? I think that end was for the class.
Yeah.
My bad. 23 then.
And well, I mean, these are for the unless need.
My bad.
So that helper thing doesn't have.
I got you. Yeah. Let's just try. My bad.
You want me to take this one out as well?
Might as well comment it out just to be safe.
Yeah.
Ready.
Wow, that's interesting. Undefined local variable. That doesn't make any sense. Current user spelled right. You saved it. What the heck? It'd be different if it was like it didn't like what like the code inside it, but it's not even like.
Yeah, I don't get that. We should inherit it directly. We don't have to do anything else.
It's a big problem. It's weird.
I'm assuming it has a.
And we don't.
That might be why. It's not actually assigning anything to the user ID of session. So it's like it's before we assign it here, it has no value. So it's not finding it when they go to current user.
I see. What if you just did params to see what it shoots out?
It gives the full object.
Huh.
So the authenticity token and then the user object with its nested values.
Well, that's strange.
Should we just write it out the long way since it's not letting us use that helper method?
I mean,
where we have
sure.
Current user on line 11, should we write out what the current user method is doing? I just don't understand why, but.
But is a problem because it's not grabbing who the user is. That's why it's not user friendly.
So yeah, this is never going to evaluate to true with what it's getting passed to us right now. So it's not even calling it.
Okay.
So they're not logged in then, right? Is that the problem?
I'm assuming. I don't know if that means that's the wrong one. If we need to assign the session ID before, but I think that would defeat the purpose of our if loop.
Yeah. What are we trying to accomplish on line 11? We want to ensure that we have found a user on 9 and that the password that they submitted is accurate for them, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And
so
then,
what was wrong with the user.authenticate params password?
I just don't think it was catching anything because it was just authenticating. I don't know if that was based on the test.
Gotcha.
Would it be?
No, it's just password. Because if you look at the form, the collection select nested it, but the password field tag did not.
Okay, cool. Params password. Authenticate just gets the brackets. There's not like a question mark, right?
Yeah, no, that looks good.
Okay. Because yeah, the one we weren't hitting the pry and the if.
I just found something interesting on my end. Will you put the binding pry underneath 14 and above that else? So we all agreed this code should be unreachable, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It should just redirect.
Okay.
And it's not going to, probably.
So it is hitting it.
It's hitting it, but the redirect, something's wrong with that redirect.
So it is taking us to the right direction. Because it passed those tests.
Do we have a show page? We do, right?
Yeah.
Huh. That's weird.
And yeah, should be finding it by the ID.
It's not taking us to the page?
So for some reason, that redirect.
The root path is correct. Could we set another if within here for the redirect and just keep that if, and then depending on if this, no.
What if you put the redirect in front of the @user line 12? Oh, no. You know what I'm saying? Like somehow work it in sometimes I've seen it done like that where it says
Want to
like,
write it first, redirect to Ruth Pat unless instead of an if statement,
something
Okay.
like that. Something like that.
Yeah. So it goes
so that it will do that first.
Yeah.
unless.
Something like that. You guys get what I'm saying? Is some
Yeah.
Okay.
Change its
so-
logic around a little and see if
Yeah.
I see it.
Trick it.
I'm
One
still
over on.
confused as to why this doesn't work.
I am
Why-
too.
We should not be able to hit that pry.
Can we call this?
Yeah, you can.
Make-
It's just not doing it.
I mean, it's recognizing the user at least.
That's
Yeah.
returning the entire user object. That is weird.
Yeah.
So, and that's going to be a truthy value.
Yeah, shouldn't it just be the? Yeah, I don't understand.
That
Why is
should
it-
return true or false. The authenticate method.
Do we have to somehow bring the authenticate method in through some kind of code or something into like? Can you just use it like that, like anything else, or does it have to be set somehow, like under has secure password? Is that where that comes into play? We have to have secure password in the
I
user.
think it's looking for a password digest to authenticate against.
So I've seen it. I've seen that in the forum. Sometimes they'll put authenticate password confirmation. Does that have to do with this at all? Like if you put a password confirmation?
No, that's making sure that the password matches. You
Oh.
know, when you create a new account, a lot of times you'll have to type the password in twice.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
That's what that is.
That's weird then. Do you think by changing the logic around, like we were going to do with Kyle, that might help? Because I know sometimes that it's finicky with like, well, right now the problem you're saying is that it's not even authenticating the password.
It's pulling more than just authenticating.
Yeah.
What if we get rid of the @ symbols?
I was thinking about that too.
It still seems to be
Same data.
Okay. So I think that is working as intended. If we get, so what I just did was in pry, I did user.authenticate and then just created a string and typed wrong pass,
Mhm.
and that did return false.
Okay.
So apparently the authenticate method, rather than just returning true, returns the object as a truthy value.
Okay. So do we need to throw another conditional in there? I mean, because it seems like even though
So
They want
I
us-
think our issue's on 14. Because, so we fail because we're not redirecting to where we want to,
Right.
Mhm.
but our redirects aren't working.
So what do you think by changing, like going back to the, I don't have a reason why, but sometimes it's finicky with where you place your code. If you put the redirect to like before the, like unless that type of logic, like do like the redirect at the beginning of the conditional. I mean, I don't know why that should work, but I've seen it done like that sometimes, and maybe it just doesn't work.
So redirect to here unless this passes.
Yeah.
But if
I
we
don't know.
do that, it's going to redirect before it initializes the session ID.
Yeah.
Unless, oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
So the line we're worried about is 14. Then it's not taking us to the user path.
Correct.
Wait,
It's not
This
doing.
is taking us to users 1, but it's not. It's meeting.
So what I was thinking is putting like this, and I don't want to change no, but so like redirect here, and then put the right. So
You just mean switching the logic around, right?
yeah, like redirect.
Yeah. The root path.
Yeah, to if I could spell it right.
So, but by doing that, it's going to redirect to root path if the rest of that line reads true, and it'll never authenticate.
Yeah,
It'll never get to that second part.
Okay, you're right.
The session user ID will never get established.
I thought the same thing, Alberto. So
Could we do that where it redirects unless this is true, and then it does the block of code?
Yeah.
Yeah, instead of using the if, I was thinking if you used an unless.
So we would do, just copy this thing over.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to do.
So we go, and then how did you have that unless? So
Should just be change that if to unless.
Yeah, I think.
And I think it needs to go to on the same line. Otherwise, it'll just do the redirect.
I never used that keyword unless ever. It was a good alternative.
Yeah, it's a good way to flip your logic.
Yeah.
unless needs an end, right?
I
think that yeah, I think it does need to be an end.
Yeah, that's one thing. I never know how many ends to throw in there.
It'll boot us out with a failure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now we're failing everything.
Yeah, it's not.
Cool.
Like you did.
Syntax unexpected end of line input.
Maybe we don't need that end.
Huh. Oh, because it's
because it's done in line. Let's see if we take that out, if it likes it better.
Past two things.
So the first two, it's still not redirecting us to the root path.
So it didn't change.
Taking a bathroom break.
The thing that I don't understand is how we're supposed to fail it because it's the same user object being passed through in both tests.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, of course, it's going to authenticate for the password because it's the same user.
All right.
So create standard user. And for these two, we're creating the standard user.
Did anyone check and see if there are issues on GitHub?
That I have not. See if somebody has it open.
I don't think this lab had a lot of flags on it, from what I remember. But it's worth looking.
Because the two that are passing are successfully logs in as non-admin and sign up and log in, adds to session hash.
Is it possible that this is one of those labs that won't pass until we've done some other coding somewhere else? And then magically later it passes.
For other things, but this one seems like it's specifically about this.
Yeah.
Create, redirect, not taking us to the right spot because it's still taking us to the user path rather than root.
I still don't understand how the redirect to the code beyond that is getting executed.
Beyond this.
Yeah, when we had binding pry underneath redirect, I don't know how those pries got hit.
You got me on that one. Yeah. Because I'm assuming we're still this. Yeah.
And you tested out you check to see if those root paths do work, and they do. So that's really, really weird.
Excuse me. Sorry.
Bless you.
Oh, that would be why. Yeah, because it's passing back the whole user object. That seems weird.
Well, so if you type user.authenticate and then, yeah, so if you just change params password to parentheses, literally anything, or not parentheses, quotation marks. Yeah, just not password. It
Okay.
returns false.
Isn't that what you call brute force? Not saying that you're doing that, but I think I remember when you're like,
Uh,
I mean, that, I guess trying to push.
I think it would be more hard coding than brute forcing.
Yeah, because that would be where we would just be kicking out these random strings based on whatever they were converted to. So you'd have like a dictionary array that you would use and just continually loop through after it was converted. But yeah, that seems weird that it's because it shouldn't be authenticating with the password we're passing, right? For this test, especially, it should be failing.
But in the spec, isn't it passing in the correct password?
Well, it's just creating a user.
Yeah, that's got
the identical password as the user that we're setting it to.
That's what I was wondering.
Because yeah, it's like if I'm not mistaken, the user being set in this one is the same user being set on this one.
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
Standard user. So I don't understand how we're supposed to prevent them from viewing the show page. Because to pass the other two tests, they need this.
So it's saying that. So what line test are we failing?
We are failing 47 right here.
Okay.
Line 50 is specifically what it's trying to find.
So this user is, okay, this is if they're not logged in.
Yeah, so basically it wants us to redirect to the home page where they can sign up. So it's like they try and visit the user page. It says you're not this user or you're not logged in general. And then they say go to the home page, and then they expect the home page to have a way for them to sign up.
But why is this the create method then? Is this when you're signing up? Is this method?
Okay.
It's creating a session.
I think I got this. So if we look at 40, this is validating the sign in or the login functionality. So it creates the standard user, it visits the sign in page, and then it executes the login on 43. And then it expects the session to be there. Okay. So then on 48, it creates the standard user. It does not log in. It goes straight to the show page and needs to be redirected.
Okay.
So our logic needs to be on the
visit and not the create.
Yep. So I think we're good with this. Somehow.
It needs to be on the new. Or the show page, I guess.
I think it needs to be on the get show. Yeah. So if this is where we need to figure out what's going on with that helper method.
Okay. So current user is what we need to call.
I see what you're saying.
Oh, I guess it would be.
This is where we confirm that they're logged in.
I guess. His current user, it would just be required login.
So what I just did, and I don't, like, 1 second, let me test this before I.
Because that should call.
The code I have in front of me has that in the user's controller in the create method. After the user.create user params, they're asking if user.valid with a question mark before they create the session. And there's a otherwise there to render that root page.
Okay.
And then in the show method, it's just the usual, find the user by params ID.
So basically, after this, it creates that or checks that they're a valid user.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we have if user. What did they do here? So they don't have the if. They have a user equals user.create, user params, then if user.valid, then they're connecting the session ID.
Okay.
So you don't need that if that you have above on line 16.
So this is the sign up.
User valid with a question mark. We're asking for a true false there.
This is the sign up method, right?
This is the create user method at the moment.
Okay, that's this regular create a new user. Sign up then, right? That's when you would do sign up.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is what will direct us. Well, no, this is just for, yeah, excuse me, sign up. You're right. Sorry.
Sign up.
I was thinking sign in. So if user.valid, assign it to the session ID and then take it to the user path. Else, redirect to root, right?
Yes. Saw an extra green dot.
Yeah.
I think we passed it. The test from hell. Nope. We passed something else though. When you ran all of them, we passed a few others that we hadn't passed before because we were down to 38.
Oh, it's just I think the first two that we have passing.
Okay.
It's 5.
Okay.
So,
John, can I ask you a favor real quick?
Mm-hmm.
Can you push this to GitHub now? I had to deal with like several distractions.
Yeah.
So I wasn't able to really keep up.
Sounds like you've got some fun little tiny coders behind you.
Oh yeah, no question. And the first time that I cloned, I thought I was cloning from John's page. I ended up getting like the complete solution. Like I was getting 0 errors, so I wasn't even able to contribute what you guys were talking about.
I'll take the complete solution because I'm about.
yeah, if you want to push that real quick.
Yeah, no, got rid of that. My wife, I tried submitting it actually, and my wife was like, "No, don't do that.
No.
No, that's wrong. That's unethical." There's my but it wouldn't let me. It wasn't even in Learn Directory, so it was just.
I did that yesterday. Actually, hit the fork instead, and it just went back to my own repo and code. I was like, okay, I can't fork it. I just need to clone down his.
Repos. Cool. Yeah, it should be all up to date.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
All right. So I changed my show method, and I'm past where we were at.
Awesome.
So what I did was on show, if session user ID dot present, then line 12, else redirect to root path. So effectively, if session user ID dot present is the same as a logged in.
Yeah.
All right, and this
Then we don't need any of that down there, right?
user.create. So user. How was that set up? Actually?
You can get rid of the else on line 24. And let me see. Pull it up.
So we're checking okay, gotcha.
Yeah, because my GitHub will actually be out of, or we'll have this as it was here, unfortunately.
I don't remember exactly what it looked like.
I've got it. It was if user equals user.create user params. So put a if up on 20. And then we got our session user ID, redirect to user path at user, else redirect to, I'm sorry. So your line 23 is redirect to user path user, and then else render new.
That makes sense. To create a new user. And then the show page confirms that you're still logged in.
Correct. So if you try and visit the show page and you're not logged in, you'll get redirected back to the root.
That's
Connor
good.
said this was how it was set. Sorry.
So in a sense, whenever you go to a show page, you have to confirm that they're logged in always.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense. That's where the helper methods would come into play if you had them nice. Kind of like we did in Sinatra, like logged in, question mark.
I don't understand why those redirects aren't diverting code, and I don't understand why our helper methods aren't working.
A different error, at least.
Undersized constant home view control.
Oh, we can get rid of that.
I
Are
changed.
we using the home view controller?
No, we're not. In our routes, I changed my route to users new.
Okay.
Which is a sign up page, right?
Yeah.
To users new.
Yeah. Yeah, because we didn't use the home viewer welcome at this point.
Or should we make it users index? I don't know.
For
We
the
said render new, so let's go with users new.
Okay.
Because I think they're looking for the sign up page to be the home page.
Oh,
You got to add that sign up.
expected to find toggle
So
navigation password happiness mouse at ticket's height.
So
It's asking for a. What does that mean? Toggle navigation? Does it want a nav bar?
I think so. I think they want a partial nav bar.
So that would be like a layout.
I think that's where Karina put it the other day when she did it with Devise.
I'm sorry. So, what am I editing here?
I think we need a layout, right? Is that
Yeah,
what,
in the layouts we can make a partial nav.
so application layout, I think, right? Which one
Yeah.
automatically gets put in the background? Up application? Do you guys remember the layout?
In the application, you can put the render above the yield, but first we need to create the partial form. There's a yield down on line 32. So in the lab that you guys did with Corinna, she put a render above that, but she created a partial nav. Just under layout, she made a underscore nav.html.erb and added just a unordered list with the things they were looking for.
What's it talking about with like all of this?
Yeah, that's why I was thinking that wants a nav bar, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think you're right, Sachin.
Oh,
Which is weird because there wasn't really a lab that had us use a lot of CSS or try to make nav bars. Or
Yeah,
I know there's whole sections on it that I haven't done yet, but if they really want us to be using it, they should make us do it.
And this was how you had the route set, was just users new for the route?
Yep.
Cool.
Toggle navigation. There's a toggle navigation in there on line 15, but that's because it's already giving us a header and all that. The nav bar.
Well, I got to get going, guys. I'm sorry I couldn't have been more help. Good luck.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So should we render that nav up in, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I haven't seen this error before.
usually, isn't there like a layout that is a partial layout? Is there such thing as that?
I think that you can have it where it's brought in through a partial, yeah.
Yeah, you do like render layout.
You'd like build the nav bar and then drop it in.
I feel like this is going to be another footer where I finish my actual project or before I finish it.
I have a feeling of that too. Like, I had gotten it to where I was feeling about 13 or 14 and just gave up.
It's always these weird tests that like want something so specific but can't actually describe it.
The test will know it when it sees it, John.
If only that was true about me, then it would work perfectly, right?
Yep.
So they want the text sign up in navigation.
I like how it says that but mentions nothing about an actual nav bar.
Yeah.
Because it's
But we have something that says toggle navigation and it's pulling a 16, 17, 18. It's pulling some
so
icon
this
bars.
is what it's getting pushed to, right?
Yeah.
So
That
which
form.
renders the create user form. Or is it getting pushed here?
Are they looking for the word sign up instead of?
I mean, maybe.
We're pushing them to users new, is what we said as our root.
Okay, so users new, which then goes to the edit form.
Does it just want the word sign up somewhere? Is that all it's asking for?
I mean,
Gonna feel dirty if that's all.
because this is HTML, so I'm just going to have to put, see if it likes it, because it's looking for uppercase.
Will it have to go in this partial, or should it go into the new .html?
I
I'm
mean,
asking, I'm not sure.
think I'll throw it in the new first just to see if that will satisfy it.
Okay.
Case insensitive search. Oh. That would be why. That's how you pass the test.
Pass that test. That's just ridiculous.
So janky.
Such a stupid test. Oh
All right,
my
let's see
god.
if we change this to sign up if it likes that.
It might complain then that it doesn't have it's looking for a create user button to submit.
Yeah.
I mean,
Actually, how about this?
I thought it wanted the. Okay.
capital U, and
Yeah.
maybe put a space after that.
Yeah, just in case.
And then put a middle finger right there.
Yeah. Sometimes, jeez.
So like
It was a test from hell.
I like it.
Yeah. Yeah. Kind of works.
Got him.
Wow. Okay.
Just to make things fun.
That's absurd.
Did we break our hour and a half?
I think we're coming up on it.
Yeah, we got about 15 or 12 minutes left.
To do one test, or really? Oh yeah.
Well,
Maybe
no,
we
got
at this point now. It's just like creating it's missing some roots, right?
we've gotten 3 out of 5.
It doesn't have a user admin page. That seems like an easy one to pass.
CSS user admin.
So is that as simple as on our new edit form? We just add a user admin.
Like to log in as an admin as well.
Yeah. So what would that be? User dot checkbox.
Yeah, and they can check if they're an admin.
Admin.
So is it underscored checkbox like that?
That's what I did, but I'm
I
guessing
think so.
until it works or doesn't.
Now, do I need user admin? Is that
Looks like that's what it's looking for.
I think it's all getting. This is a form 4, and it's getting routed through user. I don't know that. We'll see.
And then you have to confirm that they're admin, right? Like under controller.
unified method left carry?
What?
Yeah, I just got
In
the same
mood?
thing.
We had in our models user.
Yeah, but what changed that did that?
That's weird.
It didn't like the middle finger.
No, because I didn't type it in on my side, and I got the same error.
Let's see if we don't set that to user.
Why would it not recognize a math character?
I'm assuming it's our evaluation for.
We can't. Something can't be. Well, you can't divide by 0, but something could be greater than or less than 0. That doesn't.
I think
Makes
this
sense
is
to me.
what it's.
So
Yeah.
if something is nil, it can't be greater or less than nil. So that means nausea or happiness, one of them is coming out as nil all of a sudden because
I'm wondering if it's the order
that we're not getting created now. Let me see what my checkbox says. That's weird.
Are we sure it's check underscore box?
Check underscore box.
So
But it's here. How did they do it here? After password, they did. Oh, they have to give them options. I'm gonna post this in the chat. This is what it's asking. So I don't know if we have to create a method for this or how they made this work, but it looks
yeah, it's looking user admin.
okay. This is under. Oh, nice. The website's working.
Mm-hmm.
Last time I tried with our code from last night, and we had a couple errors. That's because of that home view page. Now we got rid of it. And then just before the submit, that code will do it for us. We can't use f.checkbox. We have to use user.checkbox. So I don't know how that's any different other than it's asking the question about admin and it didn't label it.
And it's even pulling the right class, so it sees that it's user admin.
Yeah.
Hey guys, I gotta hop off. I'm sorry. I gotta get going. But can you post the link to the repo?
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Sorry. See you later.
Yeah. So what's the problem we're having right now?
Oh, what problems are we not having?
Yeah, we broke our form by trying to add the admin thing into the bottom, so it's not catching any nausea or anything else.
I'm assuming that's.
What if you put that in the, not in the whole render form, but not in the whole form? Oh God, what am I saying? If inside the, I don't know.
Before they submit, they have to be able to check if they're an admin or not. That's what it wants the form to do. I'm not sure why what we did didn't work. Because like John showed us, it's pulling the right value for it.
What about in the controller? Do we have to specify anything about, do we had admin under the params, the user params?
I thought we already did that.
I thought we created something, but I don't remember.
I've got admin in mine, and I've got the same issue.
Yeah, okay.
For what that's worth.
Okay, so it is at least that is what is not like that.
Okay, good test. Worth a try.
All right, so
what if you did a binding pry under mood and see what the values, or under if?
Well, we know it's not pulling anything. That's why it's telling us it's nil. Yeah. So that form is not being submitted properly all of a sudden.
I don't know why something from a model test is causing issues with the feature.
Yeah. They didn't separate their concerns. That's why.
All right, so let's look at this test, I guess. 67. Is our session hash, does it include an admin? Where is that? That would be session controller, right?
That's what I was wondering, is if when you confirm the admin, do you have to do anything in the controllers?
It does have params for that.
What about when you sign the create method, do you have to say if user admin, allow special, I don't know. Like
eventually we have to do something with the admin stuff, but I don't know if it needs to go in this method.
Right now it's just not even, it's messing up the form. I see.
On the feature spec, will you show me the admin sign up method? Or admin sign up method?
The feature spec, so
I'm curious what line 67 is actually doing.
So 67 is calling admin sign up path.
Yeah. So I'm wondering what that method actually looks like.
So that would be under the sessions controller?
No, it should be, they created it. So I think you can right click on admin sign up and go to definition.
Okay.
Oh, that's really cool.
So it expects to be able to fill in a username,
password, and user admin set to true with a click button. Create user.
Do we have anything setting it to true with a click?
Well, that's what the checkbox should do.
Yeah, it returns 1 or 0, which evaluates the true or false.
True or false, yeah.
And currently it is value of 1. Or
it's false, right?
The user admin has a value of 0, but the checkbox has.
And when you click on it, it should be positive, right?
Yeah. So the value will. So if it returns that's what it's saying. So if you check the box,
yeah, now the value's 1. Yeah. So the box is working correctly. It has the right labels.
Who's surprised that it's the test that's not working?
I'm not. I'm not at all.
disappointed, but not surprised.
Yeah.
Well, when do you guys want to hit this again?
Yeah, I'm
Keep
fine
going?
with whenever.
Everyone have more in them this afternoon?
Yeah, I can do some.
I want to get it done so that I could at least on Sunday be able to get started on my,
Is there a point where we, like, if we're doing an hour and a half and we're passing one test, is there a point where we phone this one in?
I mean,
I'm asking that question just because I want to get a sense of, are we going to be working on this all through the week like we did last time with the Fwitter?
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
week.
I would stick my neck out to Corinna and tell her, like, look, like, I understand you told us to do this, but
Yeah.
in reality, this is a massive impediment to us getting progress.
Yeah, don't you think we're getting what we're supposed to get out of it? We've all coded together. We've all tried to problem solve together. We think we know what should pass the test, and all of a sudden something new is broken, and there's a lot of those tests to pass. And an hour and a half of, what I would say is a pretty good group of coders here not solving the issue. Sounds like a little bit much.
Unless
test to pass, so yeah.
We're about halfway there.
we'd have to look at the solution, which is like the last case scenario.
Yeah.
I mean,
But, Alberto, I did that, and I went forward and posted in solution just to see if it would work from the one I had, and, I still passed. I still failed 13 or 14, so it would.
I was about to say, a lot of times with these, the issues are so deep that even the solution or the solved code is no longer working.
Yeah, I agree. I've seen that happen quite a bit.
I like I said the other day, like, I kind of laid into them, and when they asked for that survey, I told them, I was like, it's hard for me not to think about the fact that I'm paying 5 figures for broken tests.
Yeah. It's not comforting, at least.
I actually also commented that, you mentioned the video things. I mentioned a couple things about it. I said, if I were putting out a program and I wanted to show video lessons, I wouldn't do these just recordings of anybody. They have 10-minute gaps where they decide to take a break. They have all of their mess ups. So if you're trying to code along with that video, you're going to make all the mistakes that they make, which is, I guess, a learning point. But, you should clean up those videos and put something that somebody can actually follow along and code with, and that would be effective.
Yeah.
And have a learn platform that doesn't shut down half the time.
Yes.
I don't use it, but I'm like, come on, man.
But, if it was less finicky, I think a lot of people would use it just to have some of these specs that otherwise might be annoying on your local pass.
I'm going to comment out this mood and see if it at least passes the test without that in there. I know we'll still fail. No, apparently.
It's going to fail some other tests now.
Yeah, because it's trying to determine mood.
Yeah. Worth a shot. Yeah, I'm happy to jump on later today. I just know that at some point I'm going to decide that I should go on to project mode and not worry about this one.
Agreed. But again, I'm down for more.
Let's do one more session, and whatever we finish, let's just leave it at that and have Corinna talk to her about it,
Yeah. Well, I know she's out this week, so, I mean, like I said, I don't mind just leaving it blank, unsubmitted until – or I'll run learn submit on what we've got, and then
I'm gonna
my project, and then
you know what I do sometimes, Kyle. I purposely take out an end so that I know that it will all go nice, and I learn submit, move on.
Yeah, that's.
I just delete the tests.
Or that.
Yeah,
it's like, I want to see all green, man. So what do you?
Hey, wait! I just said that's on a recording. So did you. We are now guilty.
Oh, geez. We also vented all about flat iron.
To be honest, we don't. It's not like we do that on labs that we can pass. We do that on labs that have like 80 or 90 tests that are very finicky.
Yeah.
Well, you want to jump on?
I guess to a point where I think this is more like this does more to hurt my motivation than it does to help me learn anything.
Yeah.
That OmniAuth lab, I passed because I broke the test by adding in something, and it was an error outside of the test, and it said I passed. And
I did the same thing.
Fine with that.
I tried, and then I was having issues with the Facebook connection, and I was just like, okay, I don't want to do this.
See, what I don't understand is this error is having an issue with this nausea and happiness evaluation, but it's obviously working. I mean, it's returning false and it has value, so I don't understand.
Yeah, so well, then which one is coming up as nil?
You know?
None.
And
It has nausea, it has happiness.
And it's not hitting a pry specifically in that test.
Nausea sounds about right.
I don't know if the order of this form matters, but I don't think it should. But who knows what they wrote in their test.
Let's see, because it's name, height, happiness, nausea, tickets, password.
That's for the user sign up. The admin sign up's even less than that.
Yeah.
Name.
Do we need a separate admin sign up?
Well, what's the point of having the checkbox?
Yeah, I don't understand that either.
In the tests I was looking at, or in the project I was looking at, in the sign up view page, they had an admin sign up there.
Even more so, if the admin sign up is just two things, why does it care about?
I have an idea.
Hmm.
Let's change our user method so that on the mood, if self.admin or let's see, how can we do this?
So admin doesn't have any nausea or happiness. So we want to ignore.
So I changed mine to a ternary operator. So you can do let's get rid of the if in front.
On line 8.
And then a question mark behind happiness. And then
Like standalone.
yeah, and then bring up the sad and then colon happy.
Yeah. I
And
like
then-
those ternaries.
And then you can do behind all that, you can do unless self.admin equals double equals true.
I like
Yeah.
that. So now it's not going to look for that mood if they log in as an admin.
And that explains why, is because the admin signs in and they don't input any of that information.
You're right.
Fucking
Mine takes
assholes.
admin and toggle navigation, so it needs to be fucking capitalized, I guess.
Or just write the word admin somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Like as a label to the box.
It's looking specifically for the text, though.
Put a P, maybe P tag.
I think because it's considered HTML, I can just write it, but
I think so too.
we'll see.
Expected to find text admin. No colon. Or put a space.
You're right. And the toggle navigation. The fuck does that mean?
Yeah.
Maybe it has to be outside of the form. So we'll just throw it in.
Yeah, like you did last
Hang
time.
out with sign up.
Yeah.
Put 'em
Just
all in.
random fucking words floating around to satisfy the tests.
Here's where we put all our dumb shit.
Why? Well, that worked for sign up.
Good lord.
Did you put sign up in one other place as well?
What about in the create? Oh, never mind. That's not good.
Yeah.
On the, I couldn't remember if we typed it in two places. Just
I had it in the new
and
form.
we moved it.
originally,
Okay.
But I moved it.
So it worked on this form. Why doesn't admin work?
Let's just try it.
Can you inspect the toggle navigation thing like you did for the other one? Inspect the test.
No. So toggle navigation spec 61. It's just looking to have content admin.
Yeah, which we typed.
So it might be on the show page.
It is on the show page because it expects the current path to equal.
Yeah, so users show, and it needs
The word admin.
Yep. Apparently in all caps.
Yeah.
I bet that's going to be a conditional, and it's only going to be if the person's an admin.
That'll be the next part of the test.
That's where my money's at.
Hey,
I'm just gonna leave it at that for
as
now.
far as I'm concerned, we passed. It says 0 failures. Wow.
Hey, I'll take it.
So I guess we could do a conditional. If
Can you just do user.admin question mark?
how did we do? We did something. So what was the?
Oh, we did if user.admin equals 1 or equals true.
Okay, you could do that.
Equals to true. Does that have to be in ERB tags?
No, what you're displaying does not. Everything inside of your if statement
Okay,
is kind of turned on or off by the if.
sweet. Let's make sure that's still passing. Okay,
Cool.
everyone happy with that?
I think so.
More than.
That was a doozy of a test. So it's like a 12 by you guys now.
Mm-hmm.
What time did you want to jump back on?
I'm fine whenever. Really, I got
Same.
going on this
Yeah, I'm
weekend.
not doing anything this weekend either.
I'm fine, like in a couple hours.
Yeah, I was thinking a couple hours, get off a computer. It's a nice, beautiful sunny day here. Maybe take a walk with the dog.
Y'all think maybe like 4 or 5 o'clock, something like that? Give enough time people go run some errands, get some
That
food.
sounds good to me.
Okay.
I'm down.
Ooh.
So what time? What's
So
4?
4 is 3 for
5
us.
Eastern, 4 Central.
That works.
Cool.
That good for you, John?
Yeah, good with
All
me.
right. Cool.
I'll post
All right.
it.
Appreciate it,
Awesome,
everybody.
guys. We'll see you then.
This would be absolutely miserable solo.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, I wouldn't have done it. I would have just broken the test and said, I don't know what happened.
I don't know how that happened.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
must have been
Appreciate
a
it,
mouse.
Yeah, I want to get started on my project tomorrow. So
Yeah,
whatever we do today in a couple hours, let's do
Yeah,
it.
I think that's a lot of time put in. And we
Yeah.
haven't recorded, so if they really want to question us, we can show them what we went through.
And they'll
And
see
while we
our
complained about their
involvement,
program.
our thinking, and everything else. So
exactly.
We had 6 people on it. Come on, that's like,
The lamentations of the tests.
and we have like the people who are, we're doing pretty good in the course. I mean, it's not like
Yeah.
we're the ones that are far behind. So,
Yeah,
guys, I'll see you in a couple
All
hours.
right, we'll see you in a bit.
sounds good.
Sounds
And
good.
just make sure 5 p.m. Eastern, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool.
All
And I'll
right.
push all this up to GitHub now.
Awesome.
All right.
thank you.
See ya.